Alright, hello and welcome back to your boy Hank Hackerson at Hank Hacks Hackers, your favorite network and system attacker. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about the Velociraptor tool. This is a part of the digital forensics and incident response module of the SOC Level 1 Pathway of TryHackMe. And this is actually a pretty interesting tool so far. I haven't completed the room, but we're pretty close to completing it, and I decided to re-record because there were some scratching noises that were coming with the microphone, and I've gotten some pretty bad feedback about that. So I'm redoing the entire recording to make sure that hopefully there's no scratching noises with the microphone this time around. If you are studying for your SOC Level 1 or basically the Security Analyst certification, SciSec or CYSA Plus or Pentest Plus or Ethical Hacker, any of those things, I welcome you to go ahead and like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell so that you get notified the next time a video comes out, because this is literally all we talk about on this channel. It's ethical hacking, security analysis, pen testing, all that stuff. And all this information is directly applicable to your certification exams as well as the stuff that you're going to be doing on a day-to-day when you finally land a job. And hopefully you actually want to land a job in this field. And so all this stuff is going to be super useful for you. And I do my very best to answer the questions that are available, or the questions that come up, in the comment section, and I give detailed responses. So I'm very active in the community. I would love to have you as a part of the community, and it would just be awesome to be able to tag along on this journey with you so that we can both learn and grow together and become ethical hackers together. So all of that being said, let's jump into the introduction of this room. All right, as far as the introduction is concerned, it basically says that this was developed by Rapid7, which is a great company, and they have even a vulnerability database that you can look at by going at their website. And it's an advanced open source endpoint monitoring digital forensics cyber response platform. So it's open source, meaning it's free, and it can come in a command line version, it can have a GUI version, as you'll see in a little bit. And it's a really cool tool. So we're going to talk about what it is, how to interact with it, how to interact with agents and create collections, how to interact with virtual file systems, what their query language is, and how to use it to perform a basic hunt of information. There are prerequisites for this room, so if you haven't watched these videos or gone through these rooms, I do recommend that you do it, because we'll be talking about some basic things that have to do with forensics and CAPE. And there are videos about these already. So I've done all these videos and they're on the channel already. So I would encourage you to do that. If you haven't done it, you can watch this video and then go do those videos. And then when you come back to this, it'll probably click even better. And so you'll just have a really, really nice, well-rounded education on this. So let's talk a little bit about the deployment of Velociraptor. So to deploy Velociraptor, we actually have to use a combination of tools here. One of them is the actual Ubuntu command line, which is available on the virtual machine that we have for this task. And then the other one is Google Chrome. So we're going to be doing a combination of both. And if you don't run the command that needs to be ran in the Ubuntu command line, then the application on Google Chrome won't work. And then, of course, they gave us a username and password to try to log into this. And to be able to access it via the PowerShell command line, if you want to do and launch something called an instant Velociraptor, this is something that's available on the documentation. If you wanted to do that, you would use you got to be inside the file where the Velociraptor executable exists, and then you do velociraptor.exe and then GUI, and it'll open up as an instant version of it for you, and you can access it that way. So that's actually the answer to the question over here. But I do want to show you how we ended up with this thing right here, because this is kind of where we are when you're officially logged in, and I want to show you how we got here. So the first thing that we did was we opened up our Ubuntu command line here, and this is what it looks like when it's actually up and running. I'm going to go to the very, very top to try to see if I can find that original command. Yeah, so this was the original command that I found here, and let me just make sure that it keeps doing that, because it does live updates here. But at the very, very top, there's this on the third line item that you see where it says ./Velociraptor. That's the command that we're supposed to run. And that command is actually listed inside of this command file that they gave us. So they gave us two commands basically. It was the start the Velociraptor server, which is this command right here. And you run this inside the Ubuntu terminal, as it says right here. And then this is the other one when you want to add the Windows machine as a client. And this is what we have to do inside the Windows terminal, the Windows command line. And you go from here and then you just do that. And it needs to be done from within the file that Velociraptor executable is actually in. So that's what I was talking about where I say it needs to be run from that file. And so this is what that looks like. So once you set this up, or once you go inside the Windows terminal, you got to navigate to where the program files are. And when you go inside program files, in this case, there's a file called Velociraptor or a folder called Velociraptor. And we go in it, and then we have our executable that we're supposed to use to run that command. And then all I did was, once I was here, I just pasted that command, that entire command that they gave us, and that's the command that started it up. Now, if you want to do this on your own machine, this is essentially the same process. You got to make sure you download it and then make sure that it's installed. And from there, this is how you would add the machine that you're on, the Windows machine that you're on, as one of the hosts that you can navigate to when you get to the Google Chrome. And so what it looks like when in Google Chrome, when we were here, there was a little section, a little icon here that we can already use. And if I click on that, it should already load it. But what happens when you click on it is that it takes you to your local IP address, which is 127.0.0.1, and then at the port that's assigned to the execution of this, which is :8889 in this case. And then it brings you to the index right here. And then what you can see on the left side here is that these icons are grayed out, so they're not accessible. But when you run that Windows command, the command that we ran here to add the Windows machine as one of our hosts, when you do that, it actually populates these things for you. And then all you would need to do is click on this search button, and it brings the client right here. And that's it. So from home, you'll see that there's a search button right there. You click on the search button, and it actually brings the client for you. And that's it. Now you can actually interact with the host that's here. And then we click on it, and then it brings us to the very general homepage of this thing, where we can answer some very basic questions for the next portion of the task. So we've deployed the machine, everything's all good, we found the answer. And so now what we want to do is we want to go into the next piece, which is interacting with client machines. All right, so to interact with a machine, as I just declared, actually, so we kind of maybe even skipped through this, but when you first go through it, these things are grayed out, and then you got to run this command. Yeah, I definitely ran through all of these already, but it's a good review. So you got to make sure that you're inside the Windows command line. You got to make sure that you go inside the program files Velociraptor folder, and from there you can run this command to actually add the client to the dashboard for Velociraptor. And then when you do that, it shows up. If we click the little magnifying glass right here, it'll show up, and it'll give us the host name, the OS version, the online state, client ID, all the information that is actually accessible to us or available to us. And then there are a lot of things that also show up when you do that, including the overview, which has all this information. There's the VQL drill down for the query language that they have. There's a button that allows you to run shell commands, PowerShell commands, and I'm going to show you exactly what we did to do that. And then there's the section that has all the collected information. After you run certain activities, it just starts adding up in your collections and the collected information that you got. And then when you get into the collections, anything that you click on, it lands on artifact collection, and then with some generic information. And then there's even something called interrogate, which I haven't used yet, but it should be a pretty cool tool to use. So this is what it looks like when you just land on it, and this is the generic information. And so the first question is, what's the host name for the client? And it's literally right under or right in front of host name. So this is the host name for the client. The next one is, what's the agent version? And this is our agent version. And these are the two questions. And now it says, go in the collected tab where the VQL command to query the client user accounts. So this was a little bit tough to find. So I went to the collected tab, and so these are the download files. And so the very, very original one was this thing right here. So generic client info, that's the very first one that showed up here. And if I go to requests, I believe, yeah. So this is the requests. And so from here, we're looking at some VQL commands. And anything that starts with VQL is the VQL query language. and this is where it was. And it says look for the one that queries the client user accounts. And so this is the one that says let generic client info, yada yada yada, all that stuff. So there's a lot of information that's available here. And I think what was the VQL command to query the client user accounts? And if we do the hint here, so this was the one actually. So it's under the artifact .windows.sys.users. So it's not the very first one. So if we actually zoom in here a little bit, and the way that I found this, I did a Control F, and I searched for windows.sys.users. And then there's only 2 instances of that showing up. And so if you click around, you'll see the ones that get highlighted. And there's only one that actually has artifact.windows.sys.users. And so this is the one. So you take everything from inside the quotes, and it takes all the way to here. So it starts with let inside the quotes, and it ends with these parentheses at the very end of it. And that's the command right here. Now it says in the collected tab, check the results for the PowerShell whoami command that we executed earlier. And this one was also another one of those things that I had a hard time finding. So you go here, you click on search to be able to get back to the client. And when you get into the client, on the right side, there's something called shell. So you click on shell, and it'll bring these things for you. And I already ran the command, but you basically go inside this thing, you type in the command, which in this case is whoami, and then you click launch on the right side here, and then it gives you the command here. Now if I click on that it actually gives me the result of this, but this isn't what they're looking for. They're not looking for the result. They want to see where this information populates when you go into your collections. So we went over here, and then we had our system PowerShell. So I think it's the first one that I ran. Yeah. So it's the first PowerShell option that shows up for me here. And then at the bottom, it says this is the whoami command. So what I need to do is I need to find where that shows up. So if I go to results, it actually gives me the results of that command. And the column that we're looking for is std out. That's the answer that they're looking for. And that's the response that we got from our whoami command. So the column itself is std out, and you find it under the results tab. And then you have in the shell, run the PowerShell command get date. And what was the PowerShell command? Executed with VQL to retrieve the result. So that was the other PowerShell command that I have here. This is my second one. And it starts from the bottom up, as you've noticed. So this was the very first one that I ran that shows me client info. This is the one that we ran with whoami. This is going to be the next one that we're going to run with that gives me the date and time, right? So that's what they wanted to do. It's get date is the command that we ran. But what we need to do now is we need to go into the log to look at the command that was run. And so this one starts from the top. So it says starting query execution and then running the external command. And the command itself is inside of these square brackets. So it starts with PowerShell and it ends with these 2 equal marks at the very end of it. And just like that, we were able to find that result. So you click on the command itself, and then typically it'll bring you to artifact collection first. But if you want to see what it was run, you go to log, and it shows you the log of everything that was done within that specific collection. And now we got that information. So it's the first time that I ran through this, it was kind of tough to wrap my head around it, but now it's a little bit easier to understand what's going on. So now we are good with the interacting with the client machine. So let's move into creating a new collection. All right, creating a new collection has 5 stages to it, and I'm gonna recreate it one more time. And this was another one of those things that gave me a little bit of an issue at the beginning. And so what we're gonna do is when we click on the plus sign to start a new collection, we need to search for this thing right here, the Windows CAPE files. And it has to do with the CAPE language and the CAPE platform itself. So we're gonna select that as our artifact. Then we're going to configure our parameters to add the Ubuntu subsystem for it. And then we're going to specify the resources. This one we didn't change anything about. We just left it as it was, and then review and then launch. So really basic, really simple. So we're going to go here, and then when you go to create a new one, it's literally right here. So you click on new, and then it gives you this I guess it's called a wizard. So it gives you that. You search here, and then you have cape file. So you click on that, and it just adds it immediately. So as soon as you click on it, it means it's already added. And then you go down here, and you click on configure parameters. And configuring parameters brings you the thing that you just, the collection that you just configured or added to it. And then you click the little wrench here, and the wrench brings up all the information that's available, and everything here is in alphabetical order. So if you're trying to find Ubuntu, you just got to scroll almost all the way at the bottom, and when you get to U, you find Ubuntu. And so there's Ubuntu, and we're just going to add that here. And this is also one of the questions that they ask later, is what shows up when you click on Ubuntu, and this is the response that you're looking for. So this is going to show up in a later question. So we can just highlight this and copy this for the next one. And from here, we just click on specify resources. This was the one that they didn't want us to change, so we didn't change this one. We just moved on, and we clicked on review. And when you click on review, it is a very simple JSON format with a bunch of squiggly brackets, a bunch of square brackets, and some indentations, and that's it. So you added the artifact Windows cape file, specs, the artifact Windows cape file target, parameters, environment, key, all that stuff, all very, very basic stuff. And then you would click on launch. And I guess I'll do it one more time, why not? So when you click on launch, it gives you a little, it went away already, but there was an hourglass first that shows up. And then from there, you click on the actual item itself, and it populates it for you. I'm already in the log section, so I would go back to artifact to look at just the basic information for this. And this is the basic information. And the question asks us, so earlier you created a new artifact, you configured it, what was the name? And so this is what we just copied. That's the name of the Ubuntu artifact. And the issue that I had with this was for this question. It says review the output, how many files were uploaded? And even in this case, my response is 19. So this is the actual files uploaded section that you're supposed to look at. Mine is 19. The last two times, because I ran this several other times because I wanted to make sure, I'm like, dude, am I doing this wrong or something? I clicked on cape files again, and both of them came back with files uploaded 19. So it was just like a really weird thing. And I kept trying 19. I tried all the other numbers that were here. I tried 38 and all it, nothing. And so I had to do some Googling around to see what the actual answer for that was. And it's 20. So for some reason, mine was missing one file. So when you do this, maybe you'll actually get 20 instead of 19, but I kept getting 19, and you just saw I got another 19. So that is a really annoying little thing. But yeah, that's basically it. That's how you add a new collection. That's how you add the artifacts to it and all that stuff. And you're more than welcome to scroll and browse through everything that you can add to it. But that's all we needed to do for this task to complete it and get those answers. So now we're going to move on to the virtual file system, the VFS virtual file system. The VFS file system, per the documentation, it's very similar to File Explorer or even the Finder that's on Mac OS. And when you click on it, there's a left pane that has the hierarchy of things that you can click through and find. And then there's the right pane that you have to first click to kind of refresh what's inside it to actually be able to get access to everything. And then from there, you just kind of get access to whatever the files are that are in here. So if we go in here, and this is the situation where I clicked on the file system, but I didn't let it fully load. So it gave me an exclamation mark right here because I stopped it from loading. But if we click on this hamburger menu right here, there's one that says virtual file system. So we click on virtual file system and it loads it for us. And so if I shrink this back down, this is what it originally looks like. So it just is for these 4 items, right? And so if I click on NTFS, previously there was nothing that was here. So I clicked on this this file with the R on top of it so that it can do recursive load, meaning that it would load everything that was inside the NTFS. And it was taking a very, very long time. So I stopped it. And that's why we saw that exclamation mark earlier. But it was enough for me to get the files that I needed to answer the rest of the questions for this thing. So First and foremost, the question here is that which accessor or accessor, I think that's how you pronounce that, accessor, can access hidden NTFS files and alternate data. And so this is something that's available on the documentation page under the apps, docs, GUI, and VFS. So you can go to the documentation here, and then we can go to the apps, docs, we can go to GUI right here, right there. And then from here, we can literally do VFS, which is right underneath that as well. And we click on VFS. And then what I did was I just did Control F to find it. And then I searched for accessor, and it gave me the different accessors, and there's 3 of them. There's the file accessor, the NTFS accessor, and the registry accessor. And so if we go back here, the first question is which one does the NTFS files? And so obviously the NTFS accessor. Which one provides file-like access to the registry? And that would be the registry accessor. Now the next question is, what is the name of the file that's inside the recycle bin? So for this, we actually have to browse through this thing. And so when you click on C on this thing right here, it expands everything that's inside C. And then there's one called recycle bin. And then there's a folder inside the recycle bin. So we click on that, and that opens up. And that's the name of the file that you're looking for, which is desktop.ini. So very, very simple, super easy to do. This one was an interesting one that says there's a hidden text in the file on the admin's documents folder. What's the flag? So we go back here, and then we need to go to users first to be able to find the admin. We click on admin, and then we click on his documents folder. And there's a flag file right here. Now this is what happened when I originally clicked this. This was not available. This text view option was grayed out. It wasn't available. So what I had to do is when I clicked on flag, this button right here where it says recollect from client was just a different thing, but there was a button right here that it says fetch it from the client. And so I just clicked that, and then it populated what was inside this text file, and then it gave me the text view here. And then when you go inside the text view, you can actually pull what's inside that text file, which is the flag that we're looking for. And so you copy that and you come here, and now you have access to your flag text. And just like that, we were able to go through the virtual file system, which is very, very simple, super straightforward and easy to use. So now let's move on to the VQL, the Velociraptor query language. All right, the Velociraptor query language is very similar to any other system's query language. So there is, the SQL query language, which you've probably heard of. There is Elastic KQL, which is the Kibana query language. Microsoft has their own KQL, which is Kusto query language. Splunk has the search processing language, so SPL. But it's basically a query language. And this is essentially what we did when we went through and found that original VQL command that was looking for the Windows sys users. And from here, we now kind of go and create our own first initial command. And it's a very, very basic command. So I'm not gonna even pretend like this is gonna be a complicated one. But we're going to use the notebook feature that's inside of Velociraptor. And then from there, we're going to run this very basic command. So if you're here, you're going to first copy this thing to make it super easy so that we don't have to keep going back and forth. And then you go inside Velociraptor. And so we're done with our file system. So we can click on notebooks on the left side right here. And I created a test notebook already. So I can create another one for you. And we just do, again, name is going to be test, description will be test. Collaborators, you're going to be the only one here. So if you click on admin, that's going to be the only thing. And now it creates it for you. And so here's our notebook. And when we click on that, oh, this is the old one. So this is the new one right here. So when we click on this is basically what you see down here. So nothing crazy, right? So click on the actual portion down here where it says text. And then you need to click on this pencil that makes you edit it. And when you see that, now you can actually drop lines of code in here. And you can paste your lines of code. And then what's really important is to go to the very far right, and instead of markdown, you want to turn it into VQL. And just like that, you've completed your first one. And so now you click save. And just like that, it gives you the results right here. And that's it. That was the first command. Super easy to run, like very, very simple to run. And it gives you some good information here. And so they do have a question about this that they're going to ask us in a little bit. Of course, you can obviously run this from the command line as well. So it's like a good tool that works in both ways. So if you're more comfortable with the command line, you can just run the same exact thing. So make sure that you are inside the file that has Velociraptor executable, and then you do a V for query, and then you inside quotes type in the actual query itself. So select asterisk represents everything. So select everything from the info table, and just like that, it pulls that information for you. So very, very simple to do, very easy to do. And there's a bunch of different artifacts that are available to be able to do this. So per documentation, Velociraptor allows the VQL queries inside mini programs called artifacts. And they're just structured YAML files that have a bunch of different queries in them. So this allows Velociraptor to search for the query by name or description by running or by going through the endpoint and a lot of different things. And instead of you having to type one or you having to call on something, you can just use the artifacts that exist. And so when we go through the documentation page, there's a lot of things that you can pull from the documentation page. So if I go through the documentation page and go to the, where is it? We're looking at VQL fundamentals. So we click on VQL fundamentals and it brings us to the basic syntax section, which is what you need to first be able to answer the first couple of questions. And the first question, so let's go and find the first question. It says, what is followed by the select keyword in standard VQL? So if we go over here and we try to look for the sections, it says the query that starts with a select keyword followed by a list of column selectors. So that's the next thing. And then if everything from is followed by a VQL plugin name. And then finally you have where, which is followed by a filter expression. And these are the three answers that we're looking for our next set of three questions right here. So what's followed by, what is select followed by? It's column selectors. What is from followed by is the VQL plugin. And what is where followed by? And that is the filter expression. Now there's a few other things that I'm just going to give you as a gimme, but I mean, I do recommend you go through the documentation page to make this a little bit easier for you. But if you go to the Notepad interface to see what all the possible completions are, and I mean, I might as well do this with you so you can kind of figure out what's going on. So if we go here and try to find out what we could do, I think it's under notebooks or maybe it's under artifacts. So let's see what it is, but there's essentially that gives you all the possible, yeah, I think it's under notebooks. It gives you all of the possible completions, and that is something that you can search for. It might not even be here. I think it's still under fundamentals. I think that's where it is. Yeah, it's under fundamentals. So using the GUI suggestions, if you do a question mark in the notebook interface, it gives you all the possible completions for a keyword. And I mean, I literally gave that to you. So it's already on the screen and we didn't need to do all that, but I want you to kind of get used to clicking around and trying to find that information via the actual documentation page. And so the next one was, what plugin would you use to run PowerShell from Velociraptor? And so that can be found under the extending VQL, which is right here. And so we go to extending VQL, and the way I found it was I just did a search on the screen for PowerShell, and you see that there's a million different instances of PowerShell. But if you just scroll down a little bit, it's still towards the top of the page, and you just scroll down a little bit and it says, in order to run PowerShell from Velociraptor, we use exec ve followed by open and close parentheses, and now you can run it via PowerShell, just like that. So very, very simple and easy to do. And these were all the ones that I had completed before we started the recording, and I just redid because there were scratching noises on the microphone. So now we're going to go through the rest of these together. I have not done these, so this should be fun to do together. And the very next one is forensic analysis with VQL plugins. So let's see what this is about. Forensic analysis per documentation. It's not useful without a good set of plugins to make DFIR, digital forensics incident response, work. Velociraptor's strength lies in the VQL plugins and functions that are geared towards making DFIR investigations and detections effective. So there's a lot of information to cover about the plugins, where I'm pretty sure we're not going to go through everything here. As the date of the entry of this specific room that we're in, these are the categories surrounding forensic analysis. So you have searching file name, searching content, NTFS analysis, binary parsing, evidence of execution, event logs, and volatile machine states. So if we search through the searching file names and NTFS analysis to provide a solid brain dump, that will prepare us for this thing. So it says, what are the arguments for parse MFT? And if we look at this, it says docs, forensics, and NTFS. So we're going to go into documentation, and we're going to go to forensic analysis. And from here, we're looking for NTFS analysis. So we'll open this up, and then it says parse. So I'm just going to do a search for parse on the screen, and then underscore. There it is. So we have parse underscore, and that even shows up several times on the page. So what they're asking for is, what are the arguments for parse MFT? And this is kind of the format of this. So if we go to this and look for parse MFT, this seems to be the argument here. So parse MFT, and from here, file name, yada, yada, yada. So I'm going to take everything with the parentheses themselves and see what we can do. Why can't I select any of these things? Oh, I can't copy it? That's weird. Let's see if there's anything else that we can use to do that. I think that's all of the instances of parse MFT on this page. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, so parse MFT is the only thing that actually shows up. Everything else is NTFS. I'm going to copy this because I think it's going to copy the whole thing though. And we'll just have to remove all the excess. Yeah, it does. So I'm just going to remove all of the beginning stuff over here, and we're going to move all of the ending stuff over here. And I think that's the answer. So parse underscore MFT, and then parentheses, file name, and then C, yada, yada, yada. So I'm not gonna read that character by character, but now you know how to find it. So the important thing for me is to teach you how to find things. I'm very interested in helping you get the answers, and obviously I need to find the answers for myself to be able to finish this, but I need to teach you how to find answers. So at least, teach a man how to fish and he'll never go starving ever. So that's the idea here. So now the next one is, what filter expression will ensure that no directories are returned in the results? What filter expression will ensure that no directories are returned? And that's docs, forensics, and then the file system. So docs, forensics, and we go to the searching file names, I guess. So is that file system? Yeah, file system, which is searching file names. And we want to see it returns what? It returns no directories. So let's see if we can search for no directories. Nope, that's not it. So what if we did directories? There's 2 instances of directories. For example, the following quickly searches all users' home directories. So that's not it. So let's go here. Key appears as directories. None of these things. So that's definitely not it. Ensures that no directories are returned with the results. Which filter expression shows no directories are returned with the result? I gotta search through it and see what I can find. Okay, so it's under the columns section actually. So global results returns rows with several columns, and then over here we have isdir, which is for is directory, and then is link and mode. But I think that's what it actually is. What it says, it ensures that no directories are allowed. So I guess if you say that you don't want it to be isdir, or it's not dir, something like that, I think it would be that, typically when you do an exclamation mark in front of something, if you do equal sign, or if you do exclamation equal, it means not equal. So if you do exclamation equal is dir, probably means that it's not equal to a directory, and that's how you would filter out directories from the results. So that is it for forensic analysis task. And then from here now we're going to go into an actual exercise, hunting for a nightmare. So this situation requires that we start another machine. I wonder if this is a different machine. And so let's read through it and see what we can find and what we're going to be doing. All right, so here we go. It says terminate the previous virtual machine and spawn the new one. So we definitely do have to do that, and we're going to spawn the new one as we read through the instructions here. So objective, use Velociraptor to create an artifact to detect the print nightmare vulnerability. There's no artifact entry in the artifact exchange. To avoid just copy pasting the artifact, you'll need to construct a very simple VQL query. Below are the steps. So to the select clause, the column accessor should be full path, concatenate C to the full path column accessor and file name, and then make sure the column headers for each column accessor are renamed. Full path should be full underscore path, and for file name it should be file underscore name. And then use parse underscore PE to ensure that only PE files are returned. And then we're going to go through, obviously we have to go through all of the documentation here to try to be able to find something. Then make sure that the column header for this plugin should be renamed to PE. The from clause should use parse underscore MFT. And where a clause should not return any directories, only return binaries, which is PE files, and search the directory when the malicious DLL will most likely be found. So the skeleton query below should help answer the questions. So this is kind of what it's supposed to look like here. Select, C plus the full path as so on and so forth. And I think these are the portions that we had to probably fill in here. And then parse MFT, file name, so on and so forth. And this is going to be the full query. So we are going to, as soon as the machine loads up, which it looks like it has, so as soon as that's available, we're gonna start everything up again, and then we're gonna go in our notebook or notepad, notepad, excuse me, and we're going to create this query here to make it work. So let me open this up, and then go ahead and make this full screen. No, it's still not ready. So as soon as it's ready, we will go ahead and run it. We'll get it done. All right, so the first question actually is asking what is the name of in the artifact exchange to detect print nightmare. So we're gonna go, this is the link that they gave us to the artifact exchange. So we're gonna look for print nightmare, there it is. And it is I think this is the path, right? So Windows registry print nightmare. So we're gonna copy this and let's see if this is the answer. Oh, there's multiple. So there's Windows monitoring, there's Windows registry, there is, what else? Windows detection. Okay, I think it's detection. So we're gonna do Windows detection print nightmare and see if that's the one. Yeah, so the artifact to detect nightmare. Yeah, that's the keyword right there, to detect it. We need Windows detection print nightmare. Now, per the above instructions, what is your select clause? No spaces after the commas. Don't include the from and where clauses in your category. So just this full piece right here is what we're trying to do. So select full path as, I think it's full underscore path, and file name as file underscore name, and then something something, and then there's the as at the very, very end. So let's see what that's going to turn into. So they kind of give it to us over here. So, select clause should be full path, concatenate this to this, and then file name, and then make sure the column headers for each are named. So full path would be full path, and that goes inside this series of asterisks here. And then file name would be file name under this series of asterisks, and then the parse PE is going to be PE, right? So it needs to be renamed to PE. So the full thing. Okay, yeah, so there it is. Oh no, please don't expire on me, buddy. I wonder if this is us expiring or if it's the attack box expiring. I just started this machine, so it can't expire. That's so weird. Let me make sure that it does not expire on us. The machine just started, so that's all good. This one we canceled out. This one we canceled out, or I guess not. I think maybe it's the old machine, but this is the one that we're working on right now, so that should be fine. The attack box is the one that's expiring, so I'm just going to terminate that one, just not to have any issues with it. And then, okay, so let's go back to here and see what is the name of the DLL that was placed in the attacker. So now we need to actually go create our full query here and run it. And from what we got here is that we need to start it in instant Velociraptor mode, which is basically velociraptor.exe, and then GUI is what we need to run from what I understand. So let's open this machine up and let's run that. All right, to get to the executable, to actually launch it as a GUI, we need to go to the desktop because this is the executable right here. And so I CD'd my way into it. I opened up a command prompt and I CD'd to users, administrator, desktop, and it's right here. So that's the Velociraptor. And so velociraptor.exe and then GUI should be able to launch that for us. And there we go. Nicely done. And so what we're going to do is we're going to click on advanced and actually proceed, accept the risk and continue. And yes, do you want to, yes, this is the site I want to visit. You're about to visit this, that's fine. And we're going to go in here and here we go. We got our GUI. Nicely done. So if I click on search, it should give me my, there we go. There is our host here. And now we can click on the notebook and create one where we can paste our command into it. So I'm just going to do test the same way as last time. And we're going to run it under admin. And then click on that and it'll give us this. And we go here and we click on edit. And now we can pull our entire command here. Which includes the full thing that we gotta modify one more time. So I'm actually gonna just take the first line that was approved as the first line. I'm just gonna take this entire line first, and then we're gonna go here and paste it here first, and just like that. And then we're gonna move on to the next line. Let's see what else we could find. So when we looked at this earlier, when we were looking at parse MFT, I forget which task it was, but there was one that asked us about parse MFT, and we had to find it, and then there was something that said $MFT, and that's the, no, it wouldn't be interacting with client machines. It's somewhere around this area, but basically what I think we needed to do is find the MFT and go from there, which it might be under the language here. But this was something that we did find earlier, and it was something that we can reference again because that's what they're asking us to do, is look for parse MFT. There we go, right here. So parse MFT file name is MFT right here, and accessor is NTFS. This was something that was on the documentation for forensic analysis. So parse MFT file name, MFT accessor NTFS, and that's going to be parse MFT file name is MFT, accessor is going to be NTFS, and so that's what we put right here. And so this is the command for the from command, and then the next portion of it is where something is dir, and so this is where something is dir. Let's see what that would be. So this is actually, I think this is what needs to be done. It's a basic SQL type kind of query where it's not dir. So sometimes it's either exclamation equal, which equals to not, or you just use the word not is dir. And so from there we are here, and the full path is going to be our full path here. And I'll take this and I'll put this here. And we'll paste this one right here. And lastly is and this should be and renamed to PE. So I believe that's what that is right here. And so let's just do that and confirm that. What just happened? Where did I end up at? I need to end up here. There we go, and go here and do this as our last line and make sure that that's actually PE. Okay, so I think this is it. I think this is our full thing right here. And should be okay. So let me run this down and look at the VQL and have it be as that, and then save it. Error file name, CMFT is invalid token. So let's go and modify this. Let's see what we need to do. Okay, so after a few modifications, this is what it's supposed to look like. So this is the first line. The first line doesn't change. The from line doesn't change. This thing needed to be in one line. So where not is dir and the full path equals to this thing and PE. And I think that's how it's supposed to look. And so we run that, and let's see if that's the issue. Okay, that worked. And I mean, hopefully I got a chance to actually analyze this one more time. It does not show me the overall thing, but I'm gonna see, because I was recording the entire time, so I'm gonna pause it, I guess, before clicking, because I was testing and I didn't realize that it was going to work, and then it ended up working. So now we're here, and now it worked. So okay, so fine, it worked, and now it says what's the name of the DLL that was downloaded by the attacker, and I guess we can look at this right here. It was right here. This is the DLL. I believe that was it. So if we copy this and paste this, is that the answer? Let me remove the tab in advance. No, that's not the answer. So that was placed by the attacker. So let's see. There's multiple DLLs here. So let's see what we can find here. Okay, so here it is actually. So it's literally the last one. So there's 29 that came up, and originally it was showing just 10 at a time, but I clicked it to 30 just to show everything. And the very last one, very obvious name, is nightmare. So nightmare.dll, and there it is. And so what is the PDB entry, which is this full thing right here? So I'm just going to take this whole piece of data, copy this, and go here and paste that. And there we go. We finished the task. This was actually, the challenge was just trying to figure out how the command of this worked, but I'm going to show you in the edit, so you'll actually see it in the edit what it was like. And I think it was fine. It was just when I had written it outside of the the actual notebook itself, and then when I went inside the notebook and typed it up manually from inside the notebook instead of just copy pasting it into the notebook, it worked perfectly fine, and it worked, and there was nothing that changed. It's just, I think, when you copy something from a notepad to that and paste it inside of their notebook, it maybe changes some of the characters or like the quotes or something. It was weird, but it worked perfectly fine, and we're good. Now we have the hunt for Nightmare finished as well, so we can now just jump into the conclusion, which I mean, pretty simple. It says we made it to the end, so congratulations, we made it. There's a lot of additional resources for Velociraptor that I would probably recommend that we all read into, because this was one of the challenging ones for me. I thought it was going to be a quick room, but it ended up taking a good chunk of time. So hopefully the recording itself won't be too long. I'll cut out all the extra BS as I usually do, and you will only get the juice, only the good stuff. And from there, you can learn everything else there is to know about Velociraptor if you want to. All right, so if you learned anything from this, or if you want to learn more things about security analyst, pathway, or pen test plus, or ethical hacker, any of those things, please go ahead and subscribe and like and turn on the notification bell, all that good stuff. We're going to be going through these pathways. Drop posts. I try to drop them several times a week, at least once a day. This past week it was a little bit challenging, but I'm gonna be getting more recording done in advance. I'll be doing like block shooting, so I can schedule these things out and at least have one come out for you every single day, sometimes maybe 2 or 3, but at the very least I'm gonna try to do one every single day, and that way you'll have something to learn from and you'll have something to look forward to. So I do invite you to like and subscribe and turn on that notification. Drop a comment if you have any questions or if you weren't able to figure anything out, and I will respond to your comments with detailed responses as best as I can, and we will basically take it from there. So hopefully you enjoyed this and you learned a lot from it. It's your boy Hank Hackerson at Hank Hacks Hackers, your favorite network and system attacker, and we just went through the Velociraptor room. That was a part of the digital forensics and incident response module of the SOC Level 1 pathway of TryHackMe. If no one else loves you, Hank loves you. Love, peace, and chicken grease. I will see you in the next video. Later.